Whenever I finished this book, my overwhelming feeling was nothing, which is really unfortunate because I was fully anticipating loving this book. I thought this was going to be this book that felt life-changing to me and was absolutely incredible. So before I jump into this review of this book, I want to say two things. One, if this is your top tier book, I genuinely love that for you. This is not me judging any reader based on if they love this book or not. It again, if you love it, I love that for you. This is not a judgment of you specifically. Let's jump into this book group. That book is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is a classic, and I can see why this could be just an incredible book to so many people. For me, unfortunately, it didn't go that route. And I can't talk about this book without spoilers. So I'm going to tell you right now that I will be spoiling this book. If you don't want to be spoiled, I completely understand. But this is just one book that I have to talk about in depth, share my thoughts, all of those things. I'm also going to try to keep this as organized as possible. Now, I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to, but I will do my best. So I will say anytime that I am reading a classic written by a white man, I'm always anticipating racism, misogyny, sexism, all of the things, right? And this book holds all of those things. Quite literally, you're on page 6 and the author is just blatantly racist. So, of course, I don't agree with any of those things. I don't like any of those things. I felt like this book was trying to be profound and it just wasn't. And it left me feeling hollow. So let's jump into this story a little bit. So we are in Salinas Valley, which is in California. We're following two families. So we're following the Trask family and the Hamilton family. We start off the book with the Trask family. So we are following Adam and Charles, who are half brothers, and they share a father. Adam's mom has died. So Adam and Charles' dad gets remarried to Alice, which is Charles's mom. So there's our little family tree right there. The thing is, their father, he seemingly has lived a very adventurous life. He was in the military. He makes it known that he is just very sought out for his thoughts and his strategies and all this kind of stuff, right? He has all these great grand stories that he tells. But the thing is that their father favors Adam. And all Charles wants is their father's love. He is after it. And I want to say the first 2.5 sections of this book, I was fully invested. This book is hella messy. It is so messy. It is, wow. So we'll get into that part. But anyway, so we have a bit of a rivalry between these brothers. Even though Adam doesn't really care what his father wants, Adam's more of a people pleaser. He's just trying to survive. And then again, we have Charles, who wants nothing but their love from their father, and he never gets it. The thing is, Adam eventually goes into the military. He wants to get away. He wants to live his own life. And then we have Charles, who's back at home. Charles doesn't do too much with his life, and we get to see Charles and Adam's relationship change over time as they are writing letters to each other, that type of deal. The thing is, before Adam left, Charles did try to unalive him, so obviously that can put a little bit of a strain on a relationship, and so that has obviously deeply affected their brotherhood. So we see Adam in the military, and he's not interested in really killing people. He's not interested in any of that, but it does help him be able to travel. One day he gets out of the military and he just travels the world. And again, Charles is back home. He never gets married. He is just living his life. And then the thing that brings them back together is that their father passes. And before that, Charles's mother, Alice, had passed and left it at that, and then their father passes. And so after their father passes, they find out that he had a shit ton of money and left it to them, an incredible amount of money, and they don't understand where he got it from, but great, that works out for them, right? And so we see Adam and Charles live together again for a period of time, and Adam wants to go off and find a farm, live on a farm, do things like that. Charles doesn't really want to do that, and there's still this animosity between the two of them. Charles, even in their father's death, he still so desperately wanted his love, and that really shapes Charles's life. Adam is like, I don't think I actually ever loved him. And so, again, we get to see these brothers navigating life together. And then one day, there is a young woman or young girl, I guess, technically, who stumbles upon their door, and she is beaten and bruised and all of the things. Well, we are introduced to Kathy in the book before she stumbles upon their doorstep. And the thing about Kathy is that she has been harmed. She's been hurt and sexually assaulted and all of these different things. And we find out her storyline throughout the book, but the author really painted Kathy as this evil, manipulative girl. And she will use any person to get what she wants, even her own parents. And she does some really despicable things to her parents and really bad. But we see her trying to survive and navigate life. And so she ends up using different boys and men to get what she wants. She gets into this situationship with this older man, and he eventually is the one that ends up abusing her and beating her, and she just narrowly escapes. And so that's how she ends up on Adam and Charles's doorstep. Adam, the moment he sees her, he's enamored with her. He was like, that is going to be my person. And they eventually get her some help and support, and she's able to heal. Well, of course, we've seen Kathy, and again, she's just this very manipulative person. And so she decides that she's going to use her charms on Adam. Well, it works. Adam's like, let's get married. And Kathy's like, well. So they do. Literally the same day that they get married, Kathy drugs Adam and he goes to sleep, and she goes and sleeps with his brother. And the thing that you have to know is Charles this whole time could not stand Kathy. He's like, Adam, you should not marry her. This should not be the person. Well, obviously Adam didn't listen, and Charles still slept with his brother's wife. So soon after that, Adam and Kathy leave, and Adam wants to go start this farm, and they move away. And that's when we're introduced to the Hamiltons. We're following Samuel and Liza, and I think they're 9 children, and that's how Adam comes to know them. And the thing is, whenever they move, we also find out that Kathy is pregnant. Not only is she pregnant, she's pregnant with twins. She does try to get rid of the pregnancy. It doesn't work out. She does not want to have children. She just really wanted to use Adam to get to a better life. And so she is miserable her entire pregnancy. You see Samuel and Liza trying to support Adam, trying to give a little bit of support to Kathy. But Samuel and Liza are also really busy. They have their own farm. They have a ton of children, and their dynamic was really interesting. Samuel seemingly is this very kind man who is very understanding. He doesn't share the same religious beliefs as his wife Liza. Liza is very firm in her beliefs, and you're not going to tell her otherwise. And we get to see their relationship and their history and everything like that, right? And so as time progresses, Kathy gets more miserable. This is not the life that she pictured for herself. She does tell Adam on several occasions that after these kids are born, she's leaving. And Adam is like, no way. He's putting on Kathy the life that he wants for them. And Kathy, she was communicating with him. She was like, listen, I don't want these children. I don't want to be in a marriage with you. I'm going to leave. And Adam's in this big stage of denial. He's like, that is absolutely not going to happen. And well, sure enough, she has these kids and she is done. And again, Adam doesn't really believe it. Samuel is the one that helps Kathy birth these children, and Samuel sees stuff in her. The moment he had ever met Kathy, he got this weird feeling from her. And so, but he steps in, helps these 2 twin boys, Cal and Aaron, come to Earthside. And so soon after that, Kathy is done. And she had told Adam didn't want to listen. She shoots Adam and she leaves. So Kathy goes and starts a different life. Adam is there with his sons. He has this, I'm going to say servant because that's how Lee refers to himself, but this Chinese man named Lee, and Lee he is the one that raises the boys, essentially. Adam didn't even name his children. He's so uninterested and so heartbroken over what happened with Kathy that he is not parenting them whatsoever. There's a point where they even talk about these are newborn babies and he forgets to feed them. You know what I mean? And so we really see Lee be that parent role in their life. And eventually over time, we see Samuel come to Adam and he's like, Adam, get your shit together. Kathy is gone. There's nothing you can do about it now. So you might as well raise your sons. So that's when they figure out what they're going to name them. And that's how they become Cal and Aaron and that type of situation. Kathy, on the other hand, she has gone to a whorehouse. And she meets the mother of the whorehouse, Faye, I believe was her name. And she befriends Faye. Again, we have to remember Kathy manipulates and uses everybody. So that's how she starts off here. So soon she has this mother-daughter relationship with Faye. And over time, of course, that changes. Kathy changes her name to Kate. And Kate decides that she wants to be the owner of this whorehouse. Well, how can that happen, right? Eventually she unalives Faye. There was a really I don't want to, I'm already spoiling the hell out of this book, so if you've read it. But anyway, so she is top dog. She is running this whorehouse, and we see her life go from there. In the meantime, Adam starts parenting a little bit. I don't know. I never really found Adam to be that profound. I just found his character pretty boring. But we also find out that Charles dies, and which felt very like, I was just really pissed how this whole situation with Charles went, because it was like we start off this book with these brothers, and then it eventually turns into, the ending of it is that we find out Charles dies through a letter. Well, Charles has all this money. He leaves half of the money to Adam, the other half to Kathy, now Kate. And Adam, during this time, has told his sons that their mother has died, that she's not here. Well, the boys, well, Cal finds out that that is not true. He really doesn't want to tell Aaron, because Aaron is going to lose his shit if he finds out that our mother is alive. Well, he tries to tell Aaron. Aaron's like, no, that's not true. Blah. So Cal's like, never mind. I'm not going to tell my brother anything. And again, we're repeating the same pattern. Adam is much softer with Aaron and not so much with Cal. So Cal really wants this love from his father. He wants his father to dote on him, all of those things. So again, we're repeating the same patterns that happened with Adam and Charles. And so eventually we see that Adam is like, I need to see Kathy, because Samuel's like, dude, you got to get it together. And so he needs to see her one more time. He also needs to tell her about this sum of money that she has. So he goes and visits her. I will say that interaction was pretty interesting to me, because Adam realizes that Kathy is just very scared. She's just scared. She's trying to do what she can to survive, and the only way that she knows how is to manipulate and all of that. And so anyways, he tells her about the money. Their interaction doesn't go the way that Kate thinks it's going to go. And so he ends up leaving. And that's pretty much it. And so then we see Kate just dive deeper into this world that she's in. She blackmails the men that come to her poorhouse. And eventually we do see that Aaron goes off to the military, repeats the same kind of pattern. He also gets very hyper religious, and we see him off doing his thing. Cal eventually wants to meet their mother, and so he does go and meet her. He is also the one that eventually tells Aaron, no, she is alive, and she's disgraced us because she's a whore and she owns this whorehouse. And so that really affects Aaron. And things really come to a head. In the meantime of all this going on, we are following the Hamiltons in their life. We find out that Samuel actually has been cheating on his wife, seemingly, I don't know how long, but a really long time. And it's just kind of left as that. We are following the children, and they all are doing different things. And there is one relationship between two siblings that I found really heartbreaking, and it ends in tragedy. And in the midst of that, we see Lee, and he is supposed to be the character with all of the wisdom and with all of the really profound moments. And I will say, I really could relate to Lee in a lot of ways, especially the way that he questions religion, and especially religion based around the Bible. And so I really did enjoy that aspect of it. But Lee, his goal in life is to leave, and he wants to go open a bookshop and just live his life. And so we are also getting to get into his life and what that looks like. And so anyways, everything comes to a head after Cal tells Aaron about that their mother is alive. Aaron ends up committing suicide. And then Adam ends up having a stroke. And Kate ends up killing herself. And Samuel has died. Liza has died. Lee is the one that has to share with Cal and Adam that Aaron is the one that Aaron has committed suicide. And so that last section of the book where that has all unraveled, right? And we get to the end of the book, and Cal wants to get married to essentially Aaron's ex-girlfriend, and he wants that blessing. And Lee is on Adam's deathbed, and he's like, Lee, just give him this blessing, basically essentially break this generational curse. And then Adam says, thou mayest. He says, Tim shall, which means thou mayest, which is supposed to be this really big, profound moment. Also, I'm going to set this book down because it's heavy as hell. We know what book I'm talking about. So we get to the end of the book, and at first, when I was processing it, I was like, Adam did. He broke the generational curse. He gave his blessing to his son, who so desperately just wanted this blessing from his father, just wanted to be accepted by his father. And then the more I sat on it, the more angry I got about the book, because Adam couldn't even look at his son and say, I love you. You know what I mean? And the thing is, Adam as a character, he never was that multi-layered to me. I think that he endured some emotional, I don't know if I want to use the word abuse, but he had lost his mother. His father wasn't really emotionally available, even though he was favored. And so him having this moment on his deathbed, it just felt cowardly to me. I didn't really see it. Again, I felt very unsatisfied between his relationship with his brother. I thought that was probably one of the most interesting parts of the book outside of a few other side characters. And so I just felt unsatisfied. The whole book was just the power of choice, right? We are given the power of choice. And I just feel like I was watching a bunch of men not not get that, and who are so deeply rooted in their white privilege that they didn't have to. I don't know. I didn't get it, I guess. And so if you got it, I love that, but I feel like I read 600 pages for what? And then obviously the author did not like women. That was very evident in the way that he wrote the women. Some of them did obviously start off as young girls, but the way that he would describe their features, and even as they got older, comparing them to younger girls and their features like that, I thought it was icky and gross. And the way that he would just talk about women's personalities and how they were ugly, or essentially alluding to that they were stupid, or they were only really good for taking care of the house and things like that. I guess the book is obviously a product of its time, but just the author, you could just tell, just did not like women. I think Kathy/Kate was supposed to be this very villainous character, and she was the epitome of evil. She is the example of evil, and because obviously this book is supposedly a retelling of Cain and Abel, but a reimagining, whatever. And I don't know, I just was like, Kathy to me, even though her character could have gone so much deeper, I really did view her as a woman who was trying to survive. Now, I'm not saying I agree with her methods, but I am saying, especially for the time that she was born, women had to make a choice. Just how so many people hate on sex work or anything like that. But it's like, if you had no power, you had absolutely no power, none. And so having a whorehouse and things like that, and I hope you guys know I'm saying that because that's kind of how they said it in the book. So, but having that was your way to have more power, to be more established, even if the community or towns you lived in shamed you and looked down on you, even though they would go and use them. Kathy was interesting to me because she felt a little bit more layered to me. I think that there was a little bit more nuance to her character. I liked Samuel for part of the books. He was still pretty blatantly racist even when he talked to Lee. I think Lee was more understanding. He also had a tragic backstory, those types of things. But really what pissed me off about Lee's character work is that Lee, he wanted to go and have this bookshop. He gets the opportunity to, and he goes, and then he literally turns right back around and comes back to the Trask family because he just cannot leave them. And I'm not saying that there isn't some nuance to that. Obviously, he has lived a majority of his life with this family, taking care of these boys, and has this relationship with Adam. But I'm like, you're telling me that he went back to the white man. I didn't like that. Again, it gave me that feeling of when sometimes people try to romanticize slavery and they're like, oh, well, there were some good slave masters. They didn't beat them. They fed them. Da, da, da. I don't care. They're still enslaved. So there's no good slave master. Let's be very clear. And so it kind of felt like that to me, romanticizing that. Did not like that at all. And I was really disappointed. I really did. I was really hoping that it was going to be a book that I felt changed by. And I just wasn't. It just made me feel like, what was the point? Because you have the power of choice. You do have the power of choice. I think in the way that it was told, it didn't bring me in. And I really wasn't rooting for anybody. And so there we go. I didn't like it. Now here's the thing. I'm going to keep the book because I spent 3.5 weeks reading this book. So I'm definitely going to keep it. And I'm not even going to say I'm not going to read more from Steinbeck. I want to see if my opinion will shift and change and all of that. But I just think that when I got to the end of the book, I really did have to just sit there and think about it because I was expecting to respond a different way, and I didn't. So anyways, there's my thoughts. I didn't like it. It didn't work out for me, but that's okay. Not every book is going to. I will say, if Steinbeck accomplished anything, he accomplished us as readers having discourse and conversation over a book. And I think that is pretty neat. So there we go. I would actually love to know your thoughts and opinions about this book. And if you've read any more from Steinbeck, I know he's got other work, obviously. So let me know what I should read next from him. Thanks for watching.